Okay, so now I want to make these two small little roof shapes that go over the entry and then over this balcony. Now, of course, we could make the first one, which is basically just a simple gable roof form. We could make that using roof by footprint. But in a way, that would be difficult because here you can see that they're slightly uneven. And that is probably true to life. That is probably the way the roof was really built. We know it's a bit of a wonky building and it probably does have some uneven angles there. So even using roof by footprint there would be a little bit different to what you've been doing. But also I wanted to show you the roof by extrusion tool because it's a really useful tool. And particularly if you want to, say, do a new roof on the back and you want it to be curved, then the only way you can do that is with roof by extrusion. And it's a really good tool to also get used to drawing in elevation. So I'm going to open up my west elevation. And we can see, well, I can tell that I know, I can tell that I'm looking in the right direction because I can see the stairs. So then I've got the door there, which is slightly to one side, so I'm just going to nudge that over for the time being using the arrows on the keyboard, and maybe I'll nudge the stairs back so that they're roughly centred. And then, I'm just going to close one of these drawings actually. So then we want to get an idea maybe if the set out here, there doesn't seem to be one on the side, but I know on that drawing it looks like there is. But here, yeah, you can see that it's really just the gutter that would line up with that parapet. Unfortunately, there's a leaf in the way, but we can tell that that gutter would extend to the wall there. So do you know how wide a gutter is normally? About 100 mil. Yeah, so I'll say it's about 100. So even though the gap here is less than that, we'll say for now that it's about 100. So that's all I need to know. So now, again, making sure we're in the west elevation to start with, and then this time roof by extrusion. So it's really just to give you some practice with this new tool. So when you use roof by extrusion, it'll ask you to choose a work plane. So there, I'm going to leave it on the pick a plane option, click OK, and then choose the wall surface of this wall that the roof sits up against. In other words, the wall that the door sits in as well. So that's the plane I want to draw on. Now next, it's going to ask you for a reference level, and there you should choose upper ceiling. Because remember, that's the level that the other roofs are hosted by as well, so that'll make it a bit more logical. So I'm going to click OK. And now I'm going to look at the photo again to see if I can get any sort of reference to tell me where this is in relation to the door. There's no obvious point, but we can see here fairly clearly that this brick course here is 1, 2, 3, let's say about 4 above the door head. So a brick course is 86 times 4 is 344. So let's say 350. So 350 from the door head is where I want to start. So I'm just going to draw a line, maybe from the door head coming across, and then we'll come up 350. And then comes the interesting part. I'm going to draw then the pitch of this roof and see if we can find a photo that shows it a bit better. So there we are. So you can tell there visually what slope do you think that is. So if you can just imagine, that's 90 degrees. This is 0 degrees. So I hope you can tell by eye that that's about halfway in between. So that's about 45 degrees. Things like that you usually can eyeball because you're very rarely going to be able to get up and measure something like that. So there you can see it's snapping to 135 degrees, which is 90 plus 45, so that's good. So I've drawn my line, and then I'll draw another line from that point at the bottom of my line coming across, and then come up again so that it's 45 degrees. Now I've got these extra lines that I don't need, so I'm going to now delete those. So the one at the bottom, and then this one I drew from the door, that was just to help me set out my measurements, so I'll delete that too. And then even this one coming up the side. So that was all just to help me set out. And then finally with trim, I can join these two last remaining lines together. So what have I ended up with? I've got two diagonal lines, and that's all I need to make this roof. Okay, so I'm going to finish that now, just by clicking tick. And you can see how easy it is then to make a roof this way. So I'll just, on the ribbon there, click Edit Profile so you can see again the shape. So notice how the edge that I've drawn is where the top of the roof would be. So have I done everything that I need for that roof though? I've got the shape in elevation, but what else do I need to give the full size of this roof in 3D? The depth, exactly. So we need to know how deep it is, and we can see that if we look in the site plan. We can see it from above, and it's way too deep. It's actually going all the way through the building. And we can't see that until we look in a different view. So there it is. You can see it's going all the way through to the back of the building. So back in the site plan, so I can select that roof and then drag it using the arrows the other way so that it's got the right depth. So into 3D, and there we are. So that's probably good enough. Especially when later we add the barge boards and the fascias and the gutters and everything. That'll look just like the one in the image. And we could even put in the setback for the gutter. So maybe that's something we can quickly look at now. If I go back to the west elevation. So remember, I said that we should have 100 mil from the left to allow for the gutter. Okay, the gutter that we've got along the side there. So in some ways this is easier than a roof made with roof by footprint. And you'll see now when I go to edit it, if I select that and then edit profile, select this line, click move, click a base point, take it over to the left, type in 100. Right, and so notice how it keeps the lines joined. So now if I finish it, got my new roof shape. So can you think of any instances where that would be an easier or a better tool to use to make a roof than the one you've been using, which is roof by footprint? Why would it be better to draw a roof in elevation than in plan? What if you need to make a curved roof? Okay, let's just see, so you know what I mean by curved roof. Yeah, same idea. So even just to make a roof like this, so you might have seen this house, it's a pretty well-known Seidler design. Which of course being is now frozen, but you can probably still see it there at least while it's thinking. Yeah, it's rubbish, but there we are. Okay, so how could you do the slope of that roof by drawing it in plan and using roof by footprint? It's not possible. So you need to use roof by extrusion to make a roof shape like that. And there are lots of others as well. Okay, so that's why I wanted you to have a go at using roof by footprint. Sorry, roof by extrusion, I mean. Even though technically you could have made this with roof by footprint, the method you've been using. It would have been harder to adjust it, but if you used roof by footprint. So then the final roof, this one here to the left, is even more involved. Now, you probably heard in the other class, they've actually been bringing AutoCAD files in to trace over them. I would never show you that to start off with because you'll get the job done faster, but you won't learn as much because you're just tracing off things that other people have drawn and not working out how to actually set these measurements out. So I can definitely show you and give you AutoCAD files that you can insert later, but it's a really good idea to try and just model these things from first principles, especially for your first go at it. So, again, going to the west elevation. Yeah, yeah. It's not that difficult. So, okay, so here again, I'm in the west elevation. So remember before, when I went to roof by extrusion, what did it ask me? It asked me to choose a plane. And I'll show you how to get that up using this other tool, which you've actually used before, but for different things, and it's model in place. So using model in place this time, you can set the category to roofs. So if you're wondering how to make things that you can't do with any of those roof tools, and there are lots, like this one, the secret is you can use model in place to make almost anything as long as you choose the correct category. So it's really important here that we set this to be a roof. Click OK. And the name, I'll just leave as roofs 1, that's fine. Now to do the next part, I think I'm just going to do this by eye. So I might move this over to the side so I can see it while I'm drawing. And just bring this down as well. There we are. Okay, so like I said, I need to get the pick a plane option to come up. So you'll see then if I click extrusion, notice how it comes up automatically. Right, so why is it coming up with that option to choose a work plane? Right, you don't get that option normally. If I was in a plan view and I clicked extrusion, then I wouldn't get this work plane dialog box. But because I'm in an elevation, it comes up automatically. So that's really important because you need to be able to define your own work plane. So here I'm going to leave it on pick a plane, click OK, and then choose the surface of that wall by picking the edge of it. You have to get the right side, or at least make it show the face that you're trying to draw on. So that's it there. And so then, we're actually going to use a sweep. So, what did I say? Extrusion, sorry. Cancel that. Yeah, sorry, my mistake. So I should have said sweep, not extrusion. So instead of extrusion, so we'll go to sweep. And then when you're using a sweep, it's not going to give you the work plane option automatically. But, well, you'll see in a moment, you need to understand it. So here, this is the level, upper ceiling. So that's the level that the roof should sit on. So I'm going to open up upper ceiling and then draw in the sweep options there, sketch path. Now, we'll probably come back to this next week and spend a bit more time on it, but I just want to get you started with sweeps. So, again, using sketch path. I'm going to do this fairly roughly to begin with. So I'm just going to draw by eye in the plan view there, a line that starts from the outside of the wall there. I'm going to come across, let's just make it a round number, 1,000. And then coming up this way, and then back across. So again, it lines up with the inside of the wall on each side, or on this side and the top. So then I'll finish it and go back to the west elevation, and then this time you might need to click on this select profile button if that edit profile button is greyed out, but if it's like mine is, then you can just choose edit profile. But again, if that's greyed out, just click select profile and then you can click edit profile. So then this is the part where I'm going to draw by eye to get that shape. So using the arc tool, I'm going to start from the corner, and again, it doesn't need to be that precise as long as it looks close to what we want. So here, just clicking a couple of points to draw an arc. You might need to have a couple of goes at this, but you should be able to get it in the end. There we are. So that's the basic profile. Oh, we don't even need to do that. It's going to sweep it all the way around for us. So, yeah, so I'll just finish that now by drawing some lines from the top that, in fact, I'll get, yeah, I'll just do it from the top there. So I'll just come across and then down. And when you make yours, it'll probably have more issues than mine does. So I'm doing a few things a little bit quickly here, otherwise it'll just take too long to explain it all. So I've got the basic shape that I want to be swept. And so I'll finish it like that, and I'll come back and maybe make it even better. So I'll just go to the 3D view so you can see what I've made. So you can see there we've got this profile and a path. So I'll click tick to finish. That just finishes the profile. So I need to click tick again to finish the sweep. And you can see then it's wrapped it around, following that path that I made. But like I said, we can come back now to edit that and make it even better. So I'm going to go back to, with the sweep still selected, go back to edit sweep. And then go to, again this time I'm going to click select profile and then edit profile. And then in my west elevation, just to make it easier, I might just measure this distance. I don't know what that was, but 40 mil, that sounds good. Okay, so I'm going to use the offset tool there and make the offset distance 40. And then simply just pick all of these lines, or these arcs, really, and then use trim to corner to join that together to make it again into a closed shape. Just delete that line on the left. So that's better still. Right, so that's the true structure of the roof in a way, or the sheeting at least. So again, tick to finish, and tick again to finish the sweep, and then in 3D, well, it doesn't look too different, but if we saw from underneath, it looks better. So that's it. And so again, finish model, and that one's done. So don't worry if it doesn't work perfectly for you, or if you need to have a few goes at it. But it's a really good thing to practice using the sweep tool. And that's really the only way you can make it. So there are going to be lots of roof shapes that you need to make that can't be made with any of these roof modelling tools. You can't make them all with roof foot by footprint, or by extrusion, or by face. It won't do everything. So there are going to be cases where you have to use model in place, but that's absolutely fine as long as you set the category to roof. And then Revit considers it a roof. Are you sure? Oh, that's just because of the sweep. So, okay. Yeah, well, that's one option. Or I could make it wider. So, yeah, that's it. So I can make my profile thicker by this amount. So 58.8. So I'll round that off and say 58.5. So again, with that selected, I can go to edit and place, select the sweep, go to edit sweep, and then back to select profile, edit profile, and maybe I'll go to the west elevation to see this more clearly, and then with the offset tool, I'll set that to 58.5, and I'm going to turn copy off. And then I can pick this curve, and it's actually going to bring all of those lines across together because they're all joined. So that makes my life a bit easier. So now if I click tick to finish, tick again, and it's going to give me an error saying that it can't make that sweep. So I've pushed it a bit too far and those lines are too close together. So I've got to use a bit of trial and error there. So I'm going to undo. Okay, so 58.5 was a bit too much. So I'll go to offset again, and I'll try, I'm going to try 0.5. And then pick this line and make sure it goes to the right. Try finishing it again. There we go, and that time's worked. So just that half a mil did make a difference. And now you can see the top's covered. If you were ever going to see that from above, you could put a capping piece on the top. And there are, believe it or not, there are architects who worry about those things. It's called the fifth facade. But with a building like this, I don't think the fifth facade is... Do you know what you know about the fifth facade? No. Think about the Opera House. The view of the Opera House from above was just as important as the way it looked from the four sides. So that's called the fifth facade. That is a design thing. But in this case, I don't think you need to worry as much about it as you would with other things. So yeah, it's good for thinking about it, but it doesn't really matter if you've got that. Yeah. Well, you'd think so, but most interior designers end up doing the same work as architects. And you will design things that are exterior quite often. So yeah. Okay, so again, finished model. That's a really good one for you to try. You don't have to do it straight away, but try and get that modelled at some point as a 3D thing. And I think it's something you've got to keep. Were you allowed to change that roof in your designs? Were you allowed to change that roof in your designs? No, you had to keep it. It's in a conservation zone. It's not heritage listed. There's no way that would be heritage listed, but it's in a conservation zone. Yeah, it's high. I mean, you see some of the things that are listed, and they're pretty terrible, but that's even worse than. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah. So I'll show you maybe just a couple of little things to finish off. Once you get it to that point, then you can put in the other things I mentioned earlier. When you go to that roof sub-menu, you've got things like the fascias. So watch how easy this is. If you just choose the edge of your roof, it adds a fascia. How good's that? So I just pick the edge. So I'll just do that again. So again, using that menu to go to the options under roof, and then roof fascia. So this time I'll choose the front. And then the other side. So that puts a nice barge board on the front. But I'm going to cancel that now and then start again, roof fascia, and then choose the side separately. Do you know why you would do that? Because they're not connected. So the fascia on a gable end like this shouldn't be connected to the fascia on the side. And so it's best to do those as separate things. And so then this fascia can be extended down so that it goes past the other one. And then in properties, you can also give it an offset. So we'll say vertical offset 50 to lift it up. Okay, so they're things you can play with. And then the final one I'll show you is the gutter. So again, same menu, you've got roof gutter. And generally they go onto the fascias. And there we are. To draw, sorry, it will, definitely. I'll come and have a look in a minute. Okay, so that's, you can see there, got all of those elements. We'd have to model those differently on the curved roof. But if you can at least try the basic roof forms, and if you get those done, have a go at the fascias.